welcome back to another episode of our NFLementop 100. We are almost halfway there, boys. This is it. This is the final one before we are officially halfway there. So we're dealing with numbers 51 through till 60 today. Sorry about the squeaky mic. If you have missed any of our previous episodes, check them out. They're on the channel. Equally, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you can see all the future episodes. It gets a lot more exciting, believe me. Share the video if I haven't said that already. Thank you very much. How are you all doing?
Very well.
Great, yeah.
Good, yeah.
Lovely. Right, let's crack on. There are obviously the usual admin issues that need to be taken care of. We have already spoken about two players in this bracket. So you've spoken about Trent Williams, you've spoken about Case Keenum. If you haven't seen that, make sure you check out the previous episodes. Then there are players we haven't mentioned yet who I think this is kind of their bracket, if you like. So Michael Thomas, the receiver from the Saints. I love him, but I don't think he gets higher than kind of the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
David Bakhtiari, the tackle from the Packers. Given some of the O-linemen we've already talked about, I think this is his kind of landing spot. And finally, Geno Atkins. I think he could be higher, but looking at some of the names we're going to have to talk about, I think we should just kind of cash him in here.
Yeah.
Where we don't know. That's what this episode is all about. And then there are a couple people looking through this 10 who I think are too low. Two names in particular. Firstly, I look at Philip Rivers at 56.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think he could be more than a lot higher. Especially given that currently Keenum is at 51 on their top 100. Obviously, we ranked him a lot lower.
I mean, there's plenty of quarterbacks that are higher than Rivers, and you just look at the list and think, what were you thinking?
I mean, you all know I'm a huge Case Keenum fan, but like, what were they thinking?
So then, and then also, I feel like looking ahead to the next 10, Devontae Adams and Darius Slay, this is more their kind of level, given some of the names we're going to be dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Given our 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah.
I think that's
so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then also, a lot of admin to deal with in today's episode. I look at number 60, Derek Carr. I think he should be higher, personally. Let me talk you through why. His third Pro Bowl selection. We all know how important a Pro Bowl is.
Of course, yes, yeah.
He has the franchise record, 103 passing touchdowns in 4 seasons. He is a leader. Without the broken leg he suffered last year, he would have been MVP. The Raiders would have won the Super Bowl.
That is absolutely farcical because they wouldn't.
Derek Carr is the second best quarterback in the league after Cam Newton.
I can already see you're struggling to keep a straight face.
Derek Carr should be nowhere near this list. It's criminal that he's actually this high. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get what happened.
You don't get his leadership?
No, I don't get what happened this year. Did the Oakland team and the Oakland team's family and their families and everyone's families must have voted for him somehow?
Well,
I don't know.
David Carr must have had about 15 votes.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the Super Bowl winning David Carr. I mean, his opinion clearly matters.
He's a record holder as well. Most sacked. Truth.
Honest to God, the fact that he is here, and there are certain individuals who didn't make the original list, is just blasphemous.
Now, that's not naming names.
No.
Names will not be named.
No. I loved Derek Carr last year, and I loved...
last year?
Okay, when I say last year, I mean like the year before.
Okay,
but the
I was
year
going to say last year, no.
No, I loved him because he made
11
Oakland only one game better than Tampa.
Yeah, I think like this ranking has basically just gone off what he did the year previous, having done nothing in what we've just seen and been okay prior to that good year, and you're just like,
There must be something going on because last year, 2016, he was ranked 11th. He was not the 11th best player that year.
No.
So it's almost like, now we'll try and bring him back down to earth and put him at 60. He shouldn't be even 160. He should be lower than that.
I think what did him for that year, getting him to 11th, was he played really well, and his team completely capitulated when he got injured.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
maybe his value got Well, not overstated because his value was huge.
No, because
But he's not. At no point has
I
he
think
been the
him as
11th
a
best
player and him as a leader are two different kind of things, and his leadership skills are kind of undisputable. I mean, you could argue he kind of lost it a little bit this year, but what he showed that year before, I think, is enough to say, yes, this man is a leader. However, it's kind of like the Dak effect.
Yeah,
You had a great season in 2016, and then 2017, people actually maybe started to look at you as a top 15 quarterback and plan for you like you were a top 15 quarterback, and look what happened. And that's what separates the good from the great.
In fairness, though, I think he can be great. I think the problem is he obviously went down the injury. He came back this year, and he just didn't look the same. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was a loss of confidence. He was also injured. His offensive line wasn't that good.
He had flashes. Like I remember a game where he hit Crabtree in the corner.
Oh, that game against Kansas City, where they had to redo fourth down over and over and over and over.
That's literally the only moment that completely springs to mind with regard to Derek Carr's last season. So I'm just kind of like, this is a bit high for me.
I think next year will be the interesting one because he is part of the Gruden quarterback family. He was one of the guys that Gruden, way back when, said him, and he'll be good. And as it so happens, Gruden's now his coach.
Yeah, he was on the QB camp with him. Alongside. I mean, a lot of really good QBs have been on that.
But the point is Gruden knows him. And if anyone realistically is going to try and get it out of him, you would think it would be him. So maybe next year will be the most telling. But
though Gruden did say you would draft Johnny Manziel high.
Well, yeah.
He also thought Christian Hackenberg would be okay.
Yeah.
And traded for him, didn't he?
Like, he's been okay. Like,
no, but we know that Derek Carr can be more than okay.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But this year, I mean, even defensively, Oakland didn't help themselves. So it kind of becomes a thing, well, the offense has so much pressure on them because the defense can't get anything doing. And, like, the offensive line isn't great. Receivers aren't well.
Given that we haven't spoken about Carr already, and given that I can't see him either in this bracket or in any brackets above, I'm comfortable dropping him out of the top 100 altogether.
Yeah.
Based on last year, he was outperformed, and I would happily have him.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we got this far, and you're looking back at the names that have already come up on our version too, and it's like,
yeah.
So,
I mean, and it sounds like a slight, but it's a very small list. It's a really tiny percentage of players. Like,
well, there's 800. Is there 818 players in the NFL? I think that's just Luke Kuechly's tackle number that I keep repeating.
I think it is, but
there's around. I think there's around 800 players in the NFL. So to be in the top 100 means you're in the top 12.5%.
I think 750 is good for him.
I mean,
David.
If we did if we were doing a top 200, he'd be in there, and
and
he'll almost inevitably be in the legitimately be in the top 100 in future.
Yeah.
But based off last year and what I've seen from him before, which is really really good year,
even if you just look at it by quarterbacks, you suddenly realise, he's nowhere there.
Yeah. So then, walking through who we have left, Landry, Talib, Zeke, Rose and Rivers, we said will go higher. Williams, we've already talked about. Fournette, how is he not low? We'll talk about that in a second. Casey Hayward, cornerback of the Chargers. And then we said we were bringing up Thomas, Bakhtiari, and Atkins. That still leaves one space.
Oh, yes. Of course. I was just going to actually ask you a question about your power back problem, but
we'll talk about the power back problem in a second.
I'll start with my thing, which is the whole one glaring omission. I mean, of many. I mean, Tampa as a team don't have many candidates for this list.
I mean, you were awful. Awful.
All right.
Don't be nice. You were literally terrible.
We
you were one of the worst teams in the league.
I have to say,
picking 7th in the draft was too high for you. If you had the number 1 overall pick, I would have said that's a good year for you.
Then we dropped to 11 and still screwed it up. But hey,
I think
we're fine. But
every time the ball leaves Jameis's hand and doesn't end up in the opposition defender's hands, that's a success for you. If the grass has more receptions than your receivers, that's still a good game for Jameis. If Jameis doesn't bite his fingers off by accident, I'd be proud of him.
Uber for Jameis.
Boy, I miss Josh Freeman. But anyway,
can we just do this all day? I have so many more Jameis lines that I want to come up with.
I don't care. Okay, I'm
if
over
Mariota and Jameis walked into a bar, Mariota will get served first. and Jameis wouldn't make it home.
Hilarious. Gerald
Right,
McCoy is the point I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
Gerald McCoy is not on this list.
He wouldn't make it home because his Uber account's been deactivated.
Gerald McCoy has been on the top 100
Jameis
list for the last
Winston,
5
more
years.
like Jameis Lewiston.
Gerald McCoy.
I mean,
How many Super Bowls has Cam won?
How many Super Bowls have Tampa won when they haven't had a great defense?
I think to kind of calm it down a little bit,
Gerald
McCoy is a
McCoy
massive
is
omission
not
from the
on
list.
this list and should be on this list. Never
Yeah.
mind the fact that he has been on the list for the last 5 years or so. But
Literally the last
obviously,
5 years,
if we're going to be looking at it at
Consistency.
50, 50 production this year, 50 production over the career, he fills it because he's been a cornerstone of that team, and he's been one of the, in my mind, the two significant players holding that together with Levante David as well.
Well, if you look at that Bucks D line last year, did anyone do anything other than McCoy?
Well,
No.
Well,
Hence why they've completely changed that D line. It's so unrecognizable.
It's just telling, isn't it?
What's happened is McCoy's has had a consistent year as he always has in a terrible team.
Yeah.
So he's been tarred with that terrible team brush, and that's not fair.
Especially a position like D-line, where if you are the only good player, guess what? You're getting double teamed every play.
Yeah.
And for him to still... I mean, it hasn't been his best season stats-wise. Kawan Short had a better season.
But then you add up everything he's done
He's
prior,
done in the past,
and he's had a
then you add up the context of what he's doing. Kawan Short has Starla Tuele, or had Starla Tuele next to him, who could kind of eat up defenders and eat up space.
Exactly. Next to Gerald McCoy this year was Chris Baker.
Great player.
Chris Baker, who was picked
Well,
up by
probably-
Cincinnati, by the way. But that
we haven't spoken about him yet, so he'll probably be in our top 10.
Top 10, yeah.
Chris Baker was awful, and I think that it was epitomised. I can't remember who they were playing. Was it against Carolina?
It was against Carolina.
And Chris
What's the
Baker
result of that
gave
game?
away.
Oh, yeah, we won.
Chris Baker gave away a penalty on 4th and 5, which I believe led to the touchdown, which Cam picked up and fell.
Yeah, so it was like 4th and
Yeah.
5 from the 6-yard line, and then your man Chris Baker gave away the penalty. We got fresh set of downs. On 4th and 1, Cam drops the ball, and then being Cam improvises, picks it up, rushes in for
Anyway,
the
it's
touchdown.
not
He
about
actually
Cam.
picked up a drop
This is
ball.
not about-
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when it
Excuse
mattered,
me,
he couldn't do
Mr.
it.
My quarterback loves golf.
But anyway, I think that McCoy is a very calm guy, and I think the fact that he just exploded with anger just showed his frustration throughout the year. He continues to produce. As a Tampa fan, I'm actually very grateful that he's still there, because I think if someone somewhere down the line can start getting pieces around a player like McCoy,
He deserves
That'd be
something more
great.
than
Yeah,
what
for
Tampa have
sure.
given
the
him
new
so far.
defensive line this year, I think, will help make him more noticeable next year. But yeah, the fact that he wasn't on this list,
It's just a bit rude.
yeah.
I was pretty upset by the fact that he wasn't on it, because it just shows that a lot of the people voting haven't been watching for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just like,
Recency bias. It's something we've spoken about before. It's something I'm sure we'll talk about
and that's
more.
not and it is very much a what have you done for me lately league.
Yeah.
But you can't just discount a player's
Like 8
entire
years of production,
and he has been productive since he came in. So yeah, like he
Right.
fits in.
So let's just kind of formulate a vague structure then. It's quite an easy comparison. Atkins or McCoy then. Me personally, Atkins was ranked 63, but if you look at some of the stats that he had this year, I know we don't think much of Pro Bowls, but I will say it has been a 6th, which at least shows some kind of consistency throughout his
McCoy
career.
the same though,
Yeah.
and if anything, actually, I think they are quite similar.
Yeah, but then I look at Atkins. It's a very similar situation, to McCoy, in that there's not really much else in that
Well,
Bengals
no,
D-line.
because now
There
he
is,
has Chris Baker. Funny that.
What's the Cole Lawson? I really like. He's going to be a good player. But in terms of Atkins, he's one of only 2 defensive tackles with more than 20 quarterback hits and more than 9 sacks this year, and that's keeping company with Aaron Donald, who was voted a top 10, and I'm sure will probably end up in our top 10 as well when we deal with that.
Yeah, I think if we compare the two, while a bit of me inside wants to go for McCoy, there's like a natural feeling. If their careers are comparable and we have to find a tiebreaker, which we probably do, we go based on last season, you could probably give the edge to Atkins.
Oh,
yeah. And they're going to be close together, but for this, I would say Atkins just edges it.
Yeah.
And hell, if anyone in that Bengals team can get some sort of spotlight, I think they deserve praise.
Yeah.
Because,
We love the Bengals.
Marvin
here on
Lewis.
the show.
Yeah.
And then I look at the other names that we're talking
on
about.
the show here right now.
Say hello to Andy, everyone.
Easter egg.
In terms of the other names that we have available, the only one I can really see ranking higher than Atkins. Well, I don't really think anyone ranks higher than Atkins.
I think Atkins is a little bit underappreciated.
Very much.
I know we've only brought him
the
on
rubbish
one
team
bracket,
effect.
but
What
yeah.
out of these 10 here?
Yeah.
Big Zeke.
I'm with Mark on this. Like, I love D-line play. I love D-line impact. But let's look at Zeke. He's led the league in rushing as a rookie. He carried his team. He then got his suspension. Let's not talk about his suspension. And his team were terrible when he was suspended, and they were serviceable when he was there.
Yeah.
They weren't a good team last year, and the only time they were reasonable is when Zeke's in it. Zeke's impact is huge.
I agree.
And this is something I actually want. This is what I was going to ask you, right?
Oh,
So
lovely.
you talk about your hate. Well, not hate, but
Hate.
hate for power backs.
Yep.
Do you like Ezekiel Elliott?
Not
It's a
as
yes,
not
it's a
not
yes
as
or
a
no answer. It's
person.
a yes or no
Well,
answer.
let me walk the viewers
No,
firstly
it's just a yes or
through-
no answer, though.
I'll talk about my hate of
Right,
powerbacks
okay.
and that, and I will give you a yes or no answer. So for me, as a skinny white boy, not only am I envious of people like Leonard Fournette for the immense physical specimens that they are. Don't get me wrong. When I say I hate powerbacks, I do not hate their immense physicality. I think that they are probably in the top kind of 1% of athletes in the NFL, if you like. Someone like Fournette, who is huge, he is bulky as and is rapid, right? Two amazing attributes for a running back. However, when you have those attributes, which obviously a lot of work goes into them, has to be respected. It's not as if he was just born that size. God bless his mother if he was. But
Okay, I'm uncomfortable.
That's she was too.
That's hard work, which I respect. But I don't necessarily respect the absolute absence of skill you need to play that position. If you are Fournette and you do have those physical attributes, all you need to do is kind of cover up the ball, find a gap, and lang it.
Yeah, I think you're underrating the level of implicit skill there is in vision, reading the blocks, finding that gap, and the absolute.
But I think a player like Kamara, who we're going to talk about later.
Kamara, you put Kamara between the tackles. Yeah, ain't lasting.
Kamara can't be a power
I know,
back
but that's
because he's not
like
big
a
enough.
power back is designed, and a power back game is designed to get you maybe like 2 4-yard gains, and then a pass on third down, and that gets you your first down. Yeah, someone like Kamara can break off a 60-yard run because not only can he see the gaps, but he can maneuver himself. And when he gets to the second level, his game isn't just wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
I think you're underrating the kind of impact a player like that would have if you just gave him the ball on 1st and 10 and said, right, you're running between guard and tackle. And then you're going to do it again and again and again. Kamara's not the same player.
And I think there's also a lot of mental strength to think, these are two huge guys, and I'm now just going to have to run into them, and they're going to hit me
Well, wasn't
hard.
it Fournette that in the Steelers game, he was egging on the corner and the safety? He was like, come on, then.
Come on, hit me,
and then
hit
they
me.
smashed each other.
It's not as easy as just covering the ball and running through a gap, because you got to hit your gap. You also have to, if the gap's not there, you have to read that. You have to look for your cut. You have to look for your cut back. It's not as.
I mean, we could do a whole episode on this if you guys are interested in it, where it's a change my mind, isn't it, really, that power backs use it. But getting back to it, Zeke isn't the pure power back that Fournette is. Obviously, he has power. Zeke's power is concentrated in his legs, which is, firstly, it's kind of like the same thing that Saquon Barkley has, and that's why Saquon will be so successful. But it means that A, he's powerful, but B, Zeke has that immense vision that we're talking about that I don't necessarily like. Fournette obviously was drafted number 4. He's got to have good vision, but he's not on Zeke's level. Zeke also has some kind of like a real fluidity to his movements that I don't see in Fournette.
So this is why I wanted to ask you whether you liked Elliott, because to be honest,
I do like Elliott.
I think
yes
those
is the answer to your question.
Those two are far more comparable than you realise. The difference is the way that they're used. Ezekiel Elliott will be thrust down your throat 30 times because that's how the Cowboys keep the ball, they keep time draining down, and they win because that's the way that they do it. With the Jags, they're a defensive team. They don't need to be doing that because the defense will sort that out for them. The offense can come on, do what they've got to do,
I just think it's telling that the Jags offense was more efficient last year when Fournette wasn't on the pitch.
Yeah, but then they had, what was it, Yeldon? A little guy who just runs around the outside.
And you realise that those smaller, like, gadget backs are only effective when they've got the other side of the game as well.
Because if you think about it, like LeGarrette Blount and Jay Ajayi, who were with the Eagles, when you look at the way that they play, Ajayi had more obvious big plays because that's Ajayi and he's explosive, but he's smaller. With Blount, he's running right up the middle and he's carrying guys with him.
I think we should do another episode of this because there's a whole kind of statistical argument that we can get into about runs. But getting back to this top 100, you want Zeke above Atkins. Yeah. I'm okay with that. I don't mind. Fournette for me has to be towards the bottom, not at the bottom, because I think I'd put Fournette above Landry.
Yes,
I'd put most of these players, but Landry is very consistent. Don't get me wrong; he's not a game breaker. He's not a game changer. He's just he exists, and he's a comfort blanket. Yeah, and a great comfort blanket, one of the best in the league.
Within the scheme that he's been used, all we've seen is his consistency. His kind of slot option.
He's the best slot receiver in the league, which is kind of like saying he's the best third receiver in the league. And
it'd be interesting to see him what he does if he was outside a little bit. But I still think he's been incredibly consistent and is on a pretty dire team.
Yeah.
And I think most importantly...
he's moved to a great one.
Yay.
Most importantly, I think he won the Pro Bowl dodgeball. So
great. He did win he beat Odell in the Pro Bowl Skills Challenge 2 years ago. But anyway, I would put Slay above Fournette, but I feel like...
You'd put Slay above Fournette.
No, I would have Fournette ahead of Slay any day of the week.
And it's not anything on Slay. I think it's more to do with Fournette.
Just Fournette would slay him.
Brilliant.
Nice.
And then it's quite easy, actually. We've got Michael Thomas, who's obviously a receiver. Landry, we agree, is Landry's probably going to be on number 60 towards the bottom of the list. If we compare Thomas to the three corners, so Thomas and Slay, I feel like Thomas would win that battle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thomas and Talib, personally, I think Thomas would win that battle.
See, the thing with Aqib Talib is...
I really rate
Talib is great.
I rate Aqib Talib despite Aqib Talib.
Yeah, as an athlete, fantastic. But I think Marcus Peters grew up watching Aqib Talib and took it a little too far in how much he wanted to be like him, and has just garnered all the attributes from a personality perspective, thrust it all together, and he's now 2.0.
Do you think the Rams
good luck in LA, but
I think Peters is very combustible. I see more risk in Peters than Talib.
I suppose because Talib's at this point in his career, though, I think we've seen the worst, which so happens to be what, a two-time
dangling gold chain in front of his face.
Yeah.
But I think I'm hoping McVay can kind of bring those.
Well, I think it'll be more Wade Phillips.
Yeah, Phillips.
He'll temper them if anyone
Phillips, who's worked with him before, Aqib Talib, and worked against Peters.
Yeah.
So he'll be fine. But I would have Talib over Thomas.
But then I'd definitely have Hayward over everyone else that we've just discussed now. So Talib, Thomas, and Slay.
I think Casey Hayward is probably tragically underrated.
One of the best corners in the league. Yeah. Okay, I'd trying to get in some kind of order then because I've been going on for a while. Zeke at the top then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd want Zeke in this bracket at the top of it.
In terms of other players, I would put Atkins above Hayward marginally. Not by a great deal, but I think in terms of the impact they can have on a game, just Hayward is limited by the fact he's a cornerback, whereas Atkins can be active every snap, and that will play.
Yeah, okay.
Then it just comes down to Bakhtari, we haven't spoken about yet. Would you rather have Bakhtari or McCoy?
See, with Bakhtari, he is perhaps not as noticeable. Obviously, he's an offensive linesman, which in my mind is kind of one of the least noticeable impact players. But watch when Aaron Rodgers is out there, he is almost single-handedly responsible for keeping him upright. I mean, I know he goes down from time to time, and I know, as Shannon Sharp said, he's got legs like Randall Cunningham, and I think he does. But Bakhtari is fantastic at what he does, and he's there to protect the quarterback, and he does that every time.
Better than McCoy?
Yeah.
Okay. Then it's just McCoy or Talib, I guess.
I'd take McCoy. I'd still take McCoy.
Cornerstone player.
Okay, so then our vague kind of order. Tell me if there's anything wrong with this. We've got Zeke at 1, Atkins at... Well, not at 1. Zeke at 51, sorry. Atkins at 52. That would be a plot twist. Casey Hayward at 53. David Bakhtari, 54. McCoy at 55. Talib at 56. Thomas at 57. Fournette about 40 places too high at 58. Darius Slay at 59, and Jarvis Landry at 60.
Yeah, I can live with that list. Yeah,
right.
Brilliant. Right, well, that's it for our 51 to 60. Like I said, do let us know if you want to see that power back video, because I would love to discuss more in depth about how I hate power backs, but not running backs in general. Don't worry. Yeah, there's nothing else to really say. Is that make sure you subscribe to our channel so you see the rest of our episodes and more Jameis Winston jokes. Next episode, obviously, will be into the top 50. Yes. 50 to 41. So make sure you're around for that. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks very much for watching. Make sure you share with all your friends and family. It really does help us out. All the best. See you later.